Buenos dias, buenas tardes, y buenas noches. Bonjour, bonsoir. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be. Jay Slater case. And it is part 8 of the 100-part series, Why We Cannot Understand How This Ever Decreasing in Numbers Accident Group just can't see all of the red flags and warnings that this Jay Slater death was no pure accident. Part 8. Part 8 focuses on a short list of unanswered questions, and not only unanswered questions, but questions that refuse to be tackled, that are just ignored by the accident group and those involved in the Jay Slater case. And I think you'll find that whenever there is an unanswered question or a question that is ignored, a question that isn't even deemed worthy of answering by anyone in life, it raises suspicions. It tells us surely they are not willing to answer this because they're hiding something or because the answer is very uncomfortable. And I think that's what we have with the Jay Slater case over and over again. I mean, I literally could make a 90-part series just on the unanswered questions, answers to which are out there. It's not like the answer's a mystery. It's not like you can just shrug your shoulders and say, I don't know the answer. I'm talking about answers that are known by those that participated in the Jay Slater case, the searchers, Ivor, Christopher, etc., etc., and they just simply refuse to answer. So we're in that situation where pleading the fifth, as they call it in the States, remaining silent, is somehow supposed to be taken by us as evidence that everything's above board, and it isn't. I think whenever someone says no comment, refuse to answer, it's an indication that, as I said, either they're very uncomfortable with the answer or the answer is damning in some way. Let's go through the mini list. These just five, just five. First of all, unanswered questions. Number one, for Debbie Duncan, of course, for Debbie Duncan. And it is the unanswered question about the GoFundMe accounts. I don't understand, if everything's above board, why from day one we haven't seen a breakdown of where the GoFundMe accounts went. It's very simple. The only time, and it was recent, we went month after month after month after month, where this issue wasn't even mentioned. You know, you're a nasty troll for even suggesting some funds might have gone to an untoward source. But only after months and months of pressure did Debbie Duncan come forward and eventually say, well, GoFundMe's a reputable organization. It's all above board. We have, been given the green light by the GoFundMe organization to do what we've done. Doesn't answer the question. The question is, where exactly are the accounts that show where all the donations have gone? As simple as that. In real life, you can't get away with this. You can't say to your local tax authority, oh, believe me, everything that I've spent, everything I've received, all of this accounting, it's all above board. There's a reputable accountant down the road that does my books. Yeah, so it's all above board. You can't do that. You've got to actually show where the money went. And when you don't get that, when we don't have that in this case, it's eyebrow raising. It's like, okay, so is there a reason why you don't want to show us this? Now, on the other hand, what we have seen, thank you, Rocky, and thank you, Glody, in that podcast, was the very clear Facebook, I believe it was, yeah, Facebook profile of Debbie Duncan that said 52K went to the searchers. We've seen that. Again, if this were a tax situation and a taxman saw a distinct statement that says 52,000 was spent on this, the taxman would like to say, I'd like to see evidence of that. But in this case, we're supposed to just say, "Oh, yeah, no, that was a fake account. That was a fake account from someone that just thought it'd be really funny to say 52K was spent on searches." We don't know who the fake account owner is. You know, the likes of Ivor Lovelace and Chris Pennington. Chris with his 9 hackers he hires every year from the Lisbon Internet Summit. Yeah, just can't figure out who this fake profile is that's going around posing as Debbie Duncan. Yeah, it's a real problem. Can't find that person, but what does it really matter? It just believe us. It's a fake profile. No, I don't believe it. I think it was Debbie Duncan's profile. I think it was Debbie Duncan saying she spent 52K on searches. I think that's true. But she can't actually put it out there as a GoFundMe itemized entry. She can't because it would raise all of those questions about who are these searchers exactly. It's not the Dutch. Yeah, Dutch said it's not us. Can't be DTR, can't be Callum. It's not the Guardia Civil. Process of elimination tells me someone from West Wales and someone from the Adeje Arona area of Tenerife were the recipients of that. I mean, if I'm wrong, tell me where I'm wrong in my thinking. But the fact we never get a correction in the way I'm thinking, and we certainly never get a solicitor's letter saying, you are defaming me, tells me I'm on the right track. You're on the right track. Everyone on the right track thinking, hang on, 52K is mentioned going to searchers. No explanation of which searching group this is. Yeah, unanswered questions, and questions that will not ever be tackled by the accident group. They will never, ever come out and say, we found who the fake profile is of Debbie Duncan lying about 52K, and they will never come out saying 52K went to these specific searchers. It will never happen. And it's because it will never happen that we are suspicious something's been covered up. And more than likely, what's being covered up is some kind of criminality or foul play. Why else would it be covered up? Why else would it be covered up? Question number 2 is for El Slugtardo. Now, I hope El Slugtardo is in full training because he has committed himself to coming. What did he say? Any place, anywhere. It is Father's Day for Rumble on the Riviera. Myself, Mrs. Smith, deep training. We are working hard for this. I think I've got it. I'm very excited about it. Month after month, year after year, being labelled as the closet man, can't do anything but spout venom and lies. Well, I do have a few other talents, and I think when we get in the ring, or if it is just an open space, you choose, Ivor. I think you might come a cropper. I was intrigued, Ivor, by you boasting that you've never had your beak broken. I like setting a record. I like the challenge. So, Ivor, Father's Day, see you there. And I will keep posting, some shorts on the training session. Look forward to seeing yours, Ivor. Look forward to seeing those fairy legs. Get your footwork moving, and we'll see how this goes. But appreciate it, Ivor, that you have committed to come for the Rumble on the Riviera. Now, that wasn't. I digress. LiDAR maps. We're back to LiDAR maps. You see, this is another unanswered question. And it's intriguing how Ivor cannot answer the question, but instead turns it around to say, well, if you're so dumb that you can't understand how LiDAR maps helped discover where Jay's location was, if you're that dumb, then I can't be bothered to answer the question. I think we've all been in this situation where, you might ask the teacher or a professor, well, I've got a question. If what you said is true, then please explain this. And you get the teacher or the professor saying, oh, really? Are you that stupid? Are you that dumb? You can't figure out the answer to that. Well, I'm moving on because I can't deal with stupidity. That's all we get from Ivor. And I'm saying, if you can't explain specifically, Ivor Lovelace, how your LiDAR maps helped locate where Jay was, if you can't explain that, then you're lying. It's as simple as that. You must be lying. Because if it were a simple explanation, you'd just give it. But you can't, and you won't, and you never will. You never used LiDAR maps. You gave that idea to Chris. That's my accusation. You gave that idea to Chris. You said, go out there and tell them we're using LiDAR maps. Because somehow we've got to justify how we're better than the others. Somehow we've got to justify how we found Jay and they didn't. And here's our plan. When Chris Pennington was talking about the plan, Luggy's plan, it was Luggy's plan. Luggy's plan was, number one, let's say, Chris, that you got in the mind of Jay and none of the others did. That'll convince a few dullards out there, won't it? Yeah, got in the mind of Jay. Path of least resistance. That's a good phrase. Why don't you throw that one out there, Chris? Because path of least resistance, following the water course down, and then we eventually come to within 500 meters of where the body might be. That will sound convincing. Process of elimination. Throw that out there. That sounds rather Sherlock Holmes-like. That'll get a few people on board. It didn't. It didn't get anyone on board apart from the dullards and the AG that already swallowed your nonsense. But the gift that keeps on giving is the LiDAR maps. Because LiDAR has never been used to find a body in the circumstances in which Jay Slater was found. Never has been, never will be, and that's why the Guardia Civil and Graham and the Bomberos and the mountain rescue teams, none of them ever considered using LiDAR maps, Lucky, because LiDAR maps without real-time data do not help you at all. You know that, I know that, we all know that now, but all you can say when we mention LiDAR maps is, oh, well, if you're too stupid to understand how it works, I can't explain it to you. Doesn't work, Luggy. You failed and you've been called out on it. Right, that is question 2 that will always go unanswered because there is no answer. Number three, we stick with Professor from Pisspot, West Wales, and it is Slugtardo's 2024-2025 conundrum. Here he is out there saying, well, I was never in Tenerife in 2024. I didn't go there in 2024. I masterminded everything from my basement in 2024. And yet, we have very, very clear evidence that there is El Slugtardo up just past the Mirador, and there is Guardia Civil vehicle, one after the other, about 6 or 7 parked up there. And there's Chris leering out of his car window, and there's Luggy poncing around. Yeah? Yeah, the Fishguard Fair himself poncing around, and there's Chris saying, oh yeah, look at all the Guardia Civil up here. As if that's some kind of achievement. I don't know what he's on about there. Yeah, look, Guardia Civil are up here. Whatever. Yeah, of course they are, because they're looking for Jay. So that shows us that Luggy was there in 2024. He lied. Or, if he were there in 2025 and 7 Guardia Civil vehicles were all up at the Mirador at the same time in 2025, well, the simple question is, why were they there? Now, Luggy, he kind of demeans or he kind of mocks me for saying when I went over there, I talked to the locals, which no one else ever did. Chris never did. Luggy never did. None of these searchers ever did. I did talk to the locals. And in that situation, I would have asked, hey, Guardia Civil, it's summer 2025. This is exactly where Jay Slater disappeared 1 year ago. Are you all up here for the same reason? Looking for another Jay Slater? I would have asked. But conspicuous by its absence is no explanation. Luggy never asked anyone why all these Guardia Civil vehicles are up there in 2025. We never get an answer. So there's one of 2 possibilities. Either Luggy lied, and all of those vehicles were up there in 2024 because Jay Slater's search was going on, which is what I believe. Or Luggy told the truth, and when he went there in 2025, all of those Guardia Civil vehicles were at the same place, the same time, June 2025, looking for what? Now, all we need is an explanation. Luggy needs to say, yeah, they were all there in 2025 looking for some other person that also went lost and down that ravine. Just say it. But the silence is absolutely precious, El Slugtardo. The silence tells me you got stumped. You got no answers. Because you're covering up. You're covering up. Let's turn to Chris Pennington. Number 4. We got 5. Remember, number 4 in the list. Unanswered questions about that panicked response from Chris Pennington. Oh, I'm only a kind-hearted searcher. I'm a kind-hearted searcher trying to help a family. That's all I am. That's all I am. Well, you weren't exactly the kind-hearted searcher just trying to help a family when you dived into that live trying to find out who the hell Johnny Vegas was, were you? You were more than a kind-hearted searcher then. You were like, Johnny Vegas, call me on my private. Whoever you are, call me on my private. Call me now. Let me in. Call me now. Now, I would say, Chris Pennington, that a kind-hearted searcher just trying to help a family isn't, or shouldn't be, really that interested in a live where someone's trying to find out if Vegas Atanda in Malta could be the Johnny Vegas. What the hell's it got to do with you? Unless, Chris Pennington, someone called Johnny Vegas is important in your life, and you really don't want whoever Johnny Vegas is coming out and saying who he is. Could that be why you're so concerned about who Johnny Vegas is? But there's more than that, Chris. When you were bothering Danielle, and you were saying to Danielle, oh, in the car up to Masca, because you thought she was Lucy, in the car up to Masca, how many people were in that car? Why would you be bothered by that? You're only a searcher trying to help a family. It doesn't matter if there are 2, 3, 4, 5 people in a car going up to Masca. It shouldn't bother you at all. But it does. Or it did. Why was that? Because, well, let's throw it out there, Chris. If you want to answer that question, go ahead and answer it. Why did it bother you? Why did it bother you that Francesca had audio and you wanted the audio of that whole thing about, again, Johnny Vegas and what was going on exactly with the case? I mean, why did you go into Francesca's live in the first place? What's it got to do with you? I mean, if you're just curious and you're listening, sure, but why demand the audio? And why, when we come to that, why go to Isla and ask her opinion on anything? She's a bloody reporter. What's she going to know about what Brad knows or what Brad doesn't know and whether you're going in the right direction or not? What is it exactly, Chris Pennington, that you needed to cover up or needed to know? In our world, if you're just a searcher, that's all you're doing is searching. There's nothing on this planet that Isla or any of them, Francesca, Isla, Danielle, the Vegas Atanda crew, there's nothing they're going to know that's going to help you get beyond the gates of hell and find the body. Nothing. And yet, You were up in the middle of the night trying to pester these people. Why? The very fact you have no answer for that tells me you're covering something up. If you had an answer for it, you'd have come out a long time ago. You haven't, Chris Pennington, and that is why we believe you are heavily invested in this case. Who knows why? But you are. And question number 5. Rocky. Rocky doesn't escape. Now, one of my followers, I think he's mainly on TikTok, Jason Rose, he made a very good point today when I was reading through my TikTok comments. He said, isn't it interesting that when Rocky was asleep, he woke up and he said quite clearly, Rocky said, that he woke up when Lucy came to the door, knocking on the door of the Airbnb. And Jason Rose pointed out, surely if you'd woken up and there were 2 women knocking on the door of the Airbnb, you would have said, I woke up and I saw these 2 women. One of them was Lucy, one of them never seen in my life. But no, Rocky said he only saw Lucy. Lucy was the only one he saw. Lucy coming to the door. Now, Ayub's account is completely different, as Jason points out. I was like, oh yeah, there was Lucy and this other woman. I said, who are you? This American woman turned up. So in Ayub's perspective, yeah, 2 women knocking on the door. That's odd. Rocky's perspective, no, it's just one. Lucy, I saw Lucy knocking on the door. Well, Rocky, this is a contradiction. And we all know the contradiction, that Rocky's asleep in the car, and yet Ayub said, no, Rocky was the first one to go in the Airbnb, turned left, got into his room and fell asleep. Now, these are things you don't actually forget. You're pretty damn sure if your best mate slept the night in the car or if you slept in the Airbnb. So we can't put this down to, oh my God, oh, the stress of it all, my memory's gone. And we put it down to lying. Why are they lying? They are lying because they're covering something up. What are they covering up? Oh, they're covering up it was a pure accident that Jay Slater died. No, they're covering up some criminal activity. So those are just 5 of the questions. Let's sum up. Part 8 of why we believe there is criminality in the background is because question after question after question goes unanswered, and not only does it go unanswered by these goons, these lying goons, it goes unanswered because there is no answer. They can't give a reasonable answer, so they have to pretend it never happened, look the other way, mock people like me, but when it comes to actually dealing with answers to key questions, they can't do it. And I, for one, will continue to rub their noses in these facts because it's important to keep alive the notion that these people can't give answers because they're hiding something. But also, it's important to do it. Why? Because, well, it's actually quite fun, I think, reminding people that they can't give an answer because they're crooked. Yeah, so we'll keep on this tact, I think. Maybe part 9 will be the next 5 questions that are unanswered, just to rub the noses in a little bit more. Keep training, Ivor. See you on Father's Day. Hasta luego, adios, hasta la vista. See you next time.